a man who's got a new book out called The Cubs Way, The Zen of Building the Best Team in Baseball and Breaking the Curse. He is Tom Verducci back here on The Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Tom?
Great. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing fine. So what gives, I guess, is the only way to describe the Chicago Cubs season through 45 games. What do you think?
Hangover. And maybe that's literal. I don't know, as much as they
Nice.
partied after they won. But no, figurative hangover for me. You know, Joe Madden really slow played all of his starting pitchers in spring training, knowing they got pushed last year with the extra month of pitching. Older guys, especially with Lester, Lackey, Arrieta. And I looked across the board the other day at the velocity on all those pitchers, the four starters, and they're all down this year. Now, the last couple of starts, Kyle Hendricks is getting his curveball back. Jake Arrieta is getting his cutter back a little bit. Lester's been on point. He's been really good. But it really, for me, starts with the starting pitching. It just has not been as good, and it's almost predictable, though, because they pitched so deep into last year, because Joe really worked them a lot in spring training. It's almost like they're now just getting into shape. And I think you see a little bit of that in Cleveland, too. You know, with Kluber down, Trevor Bauer hasn't been as good. It's a little bit of a price that you pay for pitching that seventh month.
That said, at least Cleveland has shown up against Houston, which appears to be the best team in the American League, obviously record-wise through the first 47 games. I mean, out of the Yankees, I'm going to throw Houston and Washington out of this mix here. And Milwaukee, since we just talked about the Cubs, because I assume you think the Cubs are going to turn around and start playing baseball like last year, right?
Yes,
Tom?
sir, absolutely.
Okay. So Colorado, Minnesota, and the Yankees, which one do you think is the most real and sustainable for the rest of the season as we hit Memorial Day?
For me, it's Colorado. I actually picked them as a wild card team in the National League, even though it's spring training. You know, a lot of people got off Colorado because they had a lot of injuries. It's a dynamic offense filled with so much athleticism and guys in the prime of what should be the prime of their careers. Not a lot of age there. And depth of pitching. To me, the season for them is all about the bullpen. And listen, they're never going to lead the league in ERA when you pitch in Mile High there. But to me, the bullpen had the makings to be decent. It's been more than decent. Holland has been a revelation coming off Tommy John surgery, as good as he has been. So with a good bullpen, I think Colorado's going to win 90 games and get a wild card team because that offense is definitely sustainable home and road.
What about maybe even bettering the Dodgers in that division? Well, and you got Arizona. Let's not sleep on them either. 10 games over 500.
Yeah, no, Arizona I knew would be better. I'm surprised how much better they are this quickly. You know, I love what Torey Lovello is doing out there. And Greinke looks like he's back on point. I don't worry too much about the Dodgers, Rich. I just think over the course of 162 games, they are by far the deepest, best team in that division. And I think that's going to show little by little. So I still think the Dodgers are the team to beat, even though they're in third place right now.
So then let's discuss with Tom Verducci here on the show, which team do you that you're most concerned about that should be playing as they were last year or should be performing even better this year that you're genuinely concerned about as we're at the quarter post point of the baseball season?
Well, definitely the Mets because of the injuries. I mean, team built on starting pitching, it's just not there. And the bullpen has just been horrendous. It's an awful division. I mean, Washington is going to win that division absolutely going away. And, you know, it's an uphill climb for the Mets just because of the health aspect of that. So Tampa Bay and Toronto, I'm still not sold really on either one of those. I know Toronto's playing better lately. But, again, they're a notch or two down from where they were last year. They get Josh Donaldson back. Let's see where they go from there. That's a very, very competitive division because I do think the Yankees are legit. I don't think they're going to fall back to, 82, 83 wins. I think they're a playoff contender.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're 10 over for right now, and they got all the young kids are showing up. Brett Gardner has been terrific, and they haven't had Chapman for the last couple of weeks and won't have him for another couple of weeks after that. So they're 10 over right there. What about Matt Harvey? Do you think when July rolls around, we'll start hearing his name if the Mets are out of it in a certain way and they're going to cut bait for a team that might think a change of scenery works for him, Tom?
You might hear the name. I would expect that would be more after the season, Rich. I've thought coming into the season, based on him coming off thoracic outlet surgery syndrome, that he is going to be a guy you're going to have to take a measurement of him in July or August. I think right now he's just still kind of working his way back. I'm not sure he's ever going to get back to where he was in 13 and 15, being that dominant ace type of guy. And there is part of me that does believe he may have to go somewhere else as a pure change of scenery guy to really get as close as he can to that level. But right now his value is just not there. I mean, his fastball is pretty ordinary right now, and I think he has to show more before he's desirable for another team other than just take a flyer on a guy for change of scenery. I think stuff-wise, he's got to show more before he has enough value for the Mets to cash in on that.
How good is Houston? How good are they?
Well, you alluded to this. I think they're the best team in the American League, and that's no disrespect for Cleveland because I still love the Indians. But when I saw Houston a couple of weeks ago in New York against the Yankees, I was just blown away, first of all, by how good Dallas Keuchel was. I know he's on a DL now, but I don't worry about him the way that he threw. Lance McCullers looks like he's the real deal as long as he stays healthy. He's just got incredible stuff. And they did the right thing to me, Rich. This team that bought into the analytics, built a team the right way, especially with some of the young players. And now they decided, you know what? We need a little leadership here, veteran leadership. And with Reddick and McCann and Beltran, they've got it. And I think pitching staff-wise, 1 through 13 these days, stuff-wise, they're as good as just about anybody in baseball. So I think they're a legitimately talented, super talented team that is not going to go away.
And in that series against the Yankees, they had that finale, ruining, absolutely obliterating Derek Jeter night. And I thought about that sitting there, Tom, and you're the perfect person to ask, having been around baseball as long as you have. And in addition to the book you have about the Cubs out right now, you are the co-author with Joe Torre about the Yankee years. I thought nationally televised game ruining a big special night at Yankee Stadium for an all-time great. Had George M. Steinbrenner III been alive, he would have typed out his screed to Rubenstein and Associates by the second inning, and that would have been in the back page hands of everybody by the fifth. And
yeah, and then the next day there would have been an early workout. Oh, you missed those days, Rich?
A little. You know what, Tom? At the time, going through it, I was livid about it. I was always upset as a Yankee fan, especially when George would be on, Mattingly for his hair and all that. And then all the core four came about because George did the stupid Howie Spira stuff, and Stick Michael was in charge, and they didn't trade people for Ken Phelps, and it worked. But I do kind of miss it, though, Tom. Why? I feel like you're my shrink here. Why?
Well, I think you miss it because I can tell you this, that George Steinbrenner was a fan's perfect owner in a way, because when George went to bed at night, when he woke up in the morning, his first and last thought was winning. It really was. Now, sometimes he didn't know quite the best way to go about doing that, but that's really what drove everything that he did. It wasn't about ego so much. It certainly wasn't about making a profit. I'm sure he did well. But it really was about winning. It was simple as that. And there's not many owners around sports now, especially with more corporate ownership, that you have singular owners who put their personality on a franchise. So George's desire to win, his lust for winning, that permeated everything. And I remember Derek talking about that in the minor leagues, that based on whether you won or lost, your clubhouse spread after the game, was very different. It was either steak or it was gruel, I guess. I don't know.
That's great. And while we're hitting the Wayback Machine, our poll question is born out of a story of somebody trying to create a fake college prospect with fake pages on real college prospect sites and fake Twitter accounts that was proven to be a hoax. And we asked, what's the greatest hoax of all time? We left Sid Finch out of the mix, and folks are calling up and tweeting us about it. At the time, Mets fans really did believe that George Plimpton had found a gem that was going to remove them from purgatory. Right, Tom?
Yeah, you got to put that on your list, Rich.
Right.
That was an all-time great. Now, that was days, really, before it was found out to be a hoax. It was so well-crafted. The story of, obviously, George Plimpton, one of the best ever. The photographs that went along with it, the Mets played along with it. Yeah, it was amazing that it had as much of a shelf life as a quote-unquote true story as it did. But that was back in the day before we had so many people on the internet telling us what was true and what wasn't.
But, nothing like that could happen ever again, right? To do something like that and it would last for as long as it did and the fan base would go for it hook, line, and sinker.
No, where the cynicism level has gone far too high to get away with something like that.
Tom, you take care of yourself, okay? Thanks for calling and have a great Memorial Day.
Always a pleasure. You too, Rich.
You got it.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download our app, and I'll be sure to move Week 6 games to Saturday for that wedding you have to go to.